state. And before that, I was in charge of school improvement for the state of New Jersey. So all of our lowest achieving schools, as well as schools with achievement gaps, were schools that I thought about and, stay up at night trying to figure out how to make them better. And I'm also the author of a book called Shape, the 5 Keys to Parenting from Research and Real Life. Because being a mom of 3 sons, trust me, I have lots of real life experiences. And, of course, I have a degree in child development, and that's great, and I'm a teacher and all of that. But there's really 2 sides to that coin, right? What does parenting feel like as a mom, and how do you move through that journey, as well as what does research show? So that's just a little bit about me. We have a very distinguished and wonderful panel, and I'm going to give them an opportunity to tell you a little bit about themselves.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. It's so beautiful to see beautiful faces this morning. First of all, I want to say that I am happy and humbled to be here and sit up here with these beautiful, phenomenal ladies and all of you out there. I feel comfortable. I had a great weekend. I learned a lot and laughed a lot with some of you. And so I introduce myself again. My name is Tiffany Carr. We have another Tiffany out here. And I've been married for 11 years. I have 1 daughter. She is 10 years old. She is going to the 5th grade. I'm a special education teacher in Richmond, New Jersey. And I'm also the New Jersey State Coordinator for Both Moms Incorporated. And I just bring you greetings and lots of local love all the way from Bergen County. And I really am excited to be here. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am Assemblywoman Shimon Sumter. Good morning. From Patterson, New Jersey. Born and raised. Patterson proud. I am not only the Assemblywoman, Majority Conference Leader of the Democratic-led Assembly in the New Jersey Legislature of 80 members. I am also Director of Psychiatry at Hackensack UNC Mount Sinai Hospital, where I supervise over 150 professional employees, including seeing over 1,200 patients a year. Absolutely, give that a round of applause. And I am a community activist, heavily involved in my church family as well. But the title, that's among them. But despite all of that, I will tell you, I am also a wife, I'm also a sister, I'm an auntie, but my greatest title is that of mom. My greatest title. I have an 18-year-old daughter, so please continue to pray for me. Absolutely. I have a 17-year-old son. My daughter's going into her sophomore year of college. And I will tell you, the challenges have never been greater because I had to transition my parenting style from one of mommy's little girl to one of mommy's soon-to-be grown-up daughter who are challenged with adult decisions. So I had to measure my words, and you all can appreciate how hard that is. She's going into her 2nd year of college. I will tell you that first year of transitioning, I was probably at the school 2 times a month. She's in Albany, and it's about a 2.5-hour drive. So Saturday, I would finish my duties and I would drive up because the internal mama figure knew she was saying something didn't feel right. And I would act on that intuition. I can tell you I was never wrong. I now have a 17-year-old son who in January, he's been in college preparatory school since he was 3, said, Mom, I know I want to go to college, but I don't know what I'm going to do. His father got up and walked away from the dinner table. I said, help me, we got to have this conversation now. And I thought I had a girl and I thought my husband had a boy. We were married for 19 years and my husband's in education. But I learned that parenting doesn't stop for the boy, just as it does for the girl. And I had to sit down and start spending more time despite a busy schedule space now, so when I speak to you, I'll speak to you from that space, as well as the space of a legislator, as well as the space of a full-time working mom. Happy to be here, ladies. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Carmen Rodriguez, and I wear hats, as most women. I think, again, the most important hat we all wear is the one of mother. I am a single mother of 4 children, 3 boys and a little girl. My oldest is in the military. My second, he's serving, he's in the second year. My second is in the second year at Campbell County College. So I'm very proud of him, and he hopes to be an engineer someday, working also. And I have an 11 and 10-year-old little guys that I have at home, so I have a full-time job at home. My babies, and as I said, I am a single mother, so I basically do it all. My second job, my quote-unquote part-time job, that is really part-time, is the job that I do as a freeholder for Campbell County. So, I'm Kansas City raised, publicly educated, and very proud and passionate about my community is where my roots are. And I never really thought, I never saw myself necessarily going into the elected position, but 12 years ago, when I was asked, would you be interested? I said yes. I said yes, because I knew the needs, and I knew that we were not getting equal representation. So 12 years ago, a little over 12 now, I became the first Hispanic elected to the seat of Campbell County. My background here in education and also in education and health. I was assigned, and I have been sitting on board as a liaison to departments of health and human services, which includes everything from homelessness, drug addiction, mental health awareness. Those are my passions, working with these particular communities. I oversee Campbell County Technical Schools. I sit also with the Campbell County College as a member of that functioning Board of Social Services, is where I spend probably most of my hours of the day just dwelling, because that is where you have the greatest need. But everything that's health, and most of it is not around services, is behind the scenes kind of services. Health department, that comes under my jurisdiction as people have been for about 12 years. And not only we will be the first county in the state of New Jersey who will receive national accreditation as a health department. So very amazing, we've done a lot. So needless to say, it's proud that I'm proud to wear. It's technically part-time, although I pretty much have full-time hours with it, because I'm constantly advocating, I'm constantly having to assist people. Now, my full-time job, I mean the job that pays my bills, because that's really what it is. You have your freeholder job, which is full-time, you have your children, which is full-time. The job that pays the bills in my home is my education. My education has. So once I graduated from Rutgers, again, yes, in biology, and Rutgers, yes. I went back to my roots, and I went back to Kansas City. I became a biological science teacher at our high school. Did that for 10 years. Did a lot of other things following there, so that I ended up growing, and educating myself. For me, it was very important to stay on the top, because I was in front of my children in my city, and they needed the role model. They needed the person to say that, okay, so you are in the second worst high school in the state of New Jersey, but so was I. I was there too, and I'm here for you to help you. So I always, very proud of my roots. I share it with my children, meaning my students. They're my children. I tell them they're my children, by the way, so they understand that I don't want to say
that hat that I wear now, I wear the title Special Advisor for Bilingual Engagement for the Kansas City School District, which allows me to make sure I provide the necessary accommodations for our populations in need. Our population. Now, me being who I am, that means everyone. That means everyone. Because to me, everybody in Kansas City is important. So for me, the biggest thing when I think about education as being the most important thing is equity. And that's why you're here. That's why you're here, because we need equity for our children, especially our urban children who are being educated. Because sometimes our parents don't know the right questions to ask. Sometimes our parents don't know where to go to for help. Sometimes our parents don't even know that there's something going on that they need to be aware of. Sometimes that happens. So for me, it's extremely important to know this, because that parent that doesn't know, I need to speak for that parent. I need to speak for that parent, and that's what I've been doing in my title. I'm speaking for that parent. So even though I'm the advisor for bilingual engagement, I'm still doing things like suicide prevention, working on that, undocumented individuals, we're putting programming in for all that. We're looking for opportunities for parents, because the truth is, to raise a child, it takes an entire community. It takes an entire community. It's not just a teacher and student. It's not just a teacher and a student, although sometimes for some children, that's the most important relationship, because they have so many challenges at home. Sometimes it's true. But it takes a community. That means the parents need to be there. That means the entire community is here. And sometimes we could do more for a child if we just help that parent. We just help that parent. Camden County has more family success centers than any other county in the state. I am proud to be part of that journey. I am very proud to be part of that journey. And right now, I want to see it continue to grow and expand, because a healthy family means a healthy child. Very important. So, my hats, one question I always get, I will just say one thing: how do you do it all? And I'll just leave this with you. I do it all because I am one.
All right. Amen to that. Good morning, everyone. How are you feeling? Good morning. Excellent. I'm sitting here. I'm trying to be cool and collected, but I just want to. I'm full of energy. I'm so excited to be in a room with you and all these lovely panelists. So my name is Rabia Duncan. I am the founder and CEO of the Mommy Grind. So the Mommy Grind is a global platform, a global community for mothers. Our mission is to connect mothers around the world. I launched this Facebook group in November 2016, and the reason I did it is because I remember motherhood being probably the loneliest time of my life, and it wasn't because I didn't have mommy, auntie, sister, cousin, friend. I had a village, but my pride would not allow me to say to them, I have no clue what I'm doing. So we launched a Facebook group November 2016 with 100 moms, just friends and colleagues that I knew. And 9 months later, today, we're at 8,200 moms in the Mom globally. We're really excited about that. As a business, what we do is we curate conversations with brands and organizations that want to connect with us. So I'm really excited about the Mommy Grind and the path that we're going and our growth. My daughter is here with me. Well, she had to take a potty break. Of course, when it's my turn. It's my daughter. She's 3 years old, going on 14 in 3 weeks. My husband's here today to support me. We've been together we're married for 7 years. He actually came because I needed help zipping up my dress. I couldn't do it by myself. So again, I'm excited to be here and to learn from from our panelists and share some of my experiences as a mom on the grind. All right.
Good morning, everyone. Very excited to be here. Very excited to also see a lot of parents in the room whose children I taught 10 plus years ago. My name is Juliana Burrell. I am Assistant Superintendent for Uncommon Schools here in New Jersey at North Star. Prior to North Star, I worked in the Newark Public School District and taught first and fourth grade at one of the schools, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which has since been closed. And then I came to North Star as one of the founding teachers of the first ever elementary school, the Vailsburg Elementary Campus, and we have Vailsburg parents here. And then I launched North Star's third elementary school as a principal, Fairmount Elementary. I then took over the second elementary school, Westside Park Elementary, as principal. And then Newark Public Schools asked us at Uncommon to take one of their traditionally failing public schools over. And Alexander Street, I turned around that school as principal at Alexander Street campus. And I am now the assistant superintendent. I run 13 schools in Newark and Brooklyn, New York. And I also work with our Camden Prep schools in Camden City. So I'm very excited to talk about advocacy. That's my 9 to 5, the job that pays the bills, as Carmen said. I'm also a wife, I'm a mother. I have 3 children, I have 2 boys. Pray for me, my oldest is 16, he's grown, I'm older than him. And I told him he's about to have a hit of the chest moment from my husband, you don't know what's coming yet. Everybody knows me about a hit of the chest moment. I told him to keep it up, it's coming. I have an 8-year-old, Gabriel, who was recently diagnosed with a learning disability. So he is someone where, we typically live in an affluent district, quote unquote, but what people don't understand is that, especially when it comes to special education, a lot of times districts don't want to pay the money. So I've been fighting with the district, and I won't name them because I don't know how much word will travel. I'm already the person that raises hell in the district. But my husband and I had to shell out thousands of dollars to pay for a private evaluation for our son because the district refused to do so. And even after I did the evaluation, I handed it to the district, and they said they weren't going to accept it because there were some findings that they were unsure about. At which point I had to say to them, so as you know, I sit on the other side of the table. I know what you do and I know the law, and I will sue you if you don't give my son what he needs. Needless to say, we got the IC, and he now has the services that he needs. And I've been a mom of boys the longest. I recently had my daughter, she's 13 months, and I geek out about it because I had just told myself I was a mom of boys, and I love my boys, but I will say that until she tells me otherwise, she's in pink and tutus and glitter. So again, I'm just really excited to be here with all of you. Yes, I stand here as an educational administrator, but I always lead as a mother first. And I would never want any school that I run to be a school where I wouldn't send my own child. And I think that that's what's missing a lot of times in education. And when we talk about parent advocacy and the parents that I work with, many of the parents in this room, they know that I go tooth and nail for them. I'm going to throw out Flo right away. She's going to be like, what? But I remember teaching her son, Tyler, when he was 5 years old. He's now a sophomore in high school. And I remember back then, Flo, crying in my classroom saying, oh, you guys are being so hard on him, all this other stuff. And the thing that I always think about is, what if Tyler was my son, right? What if that was my child sitting in front of me? Would I allow a teacher or educator to make excuses for that? Would I allow a teacher, educator, or principal, or any administrator to say that because you're a black boy from Newark, New Jersey, that the bar is going to be lower? And I think that when I think about the work that I do, because part of my other role is I do a lot of work around the country. I'm an author. I've written written books on how to best teach students how to read. And when I work around the country, a lot of times I get questions about North Star in particular because we're known for our high results. We're also known for a lot of lies and rhetoric that come out about how we service children. So I will say this. What I believe to be true is I would never work for an organization that doesn't fight tooth and nail for our children. And when we think about the odds being stacked up against many of our children, especially in urban cities, and we're talking about 1 in 10 people having a college graduation, why is that important? Because of socioeconomic mobility. And when we think about things like gentrification and people coming into our cities, how do we stay in our cities? We improve education. We improve educational equity for everyone. We improve options. I don't want someone to tell my 7, 8-year-old that maybe college is not for you. That's not for you to make that choice. You educate my son and he decides if he wants to go to college or not. And that's what I'm talking about. So when we talk about educating our children and being an advocate, people like you putting pressure on schools to raise the bar and to raise the expectations, and making sure that you know the administrators by name. The people in this room that know me, many of you have my cell phone number, you know you can hit me up on Facebook, because that's important. They need to know your face, they need to know your love for your children, and you need to put pressure on them, and I'm sure you already are. So I'm excited again to talk about that even more today, and just excited to learn from all these lovely women on this panel as well. Thank you.
So I'm going to jump right in and pose a question to our Assemblywoman Sumter. Before I do that, I just want to piggyback what you said about advocacy, and that the advocacy is so important that if you have a voice, which you do, that you should always feel that you can use that voice. And very often as mothers, as women, we have things that are in our head and we know intuitively that we're concerned about something, but we don't want to hurt someone's feelings or we don't want to make them feel bad. And I'm not suggesting that we should be rude to anyone, but we should certainly let our voices be heard. Kim Gaddy, who led a panel, who was on a panel yesterday, who sits on the Newark Public Schools Advisory Board, she was one of the founding parents of my school. And I can't tell you how many times I was walking out the door, she said, excuse me, I need to speak to you for a minute. And she would have something to say. But it made our school a better school. She's an environmental activist, and so she said to me, I'm concerned about the water in the water fountain. Because you know there was lead in all these buildings, asbestos, and this and that, and the pipes. I want you to go and check it out. And when I spoke to my business manager, it was about $2,600. I'll never forget it, to get the official evaluation of the water. But we did that. And she made our school better, and she made me better, because that was something that was in my blind spot. So each of us have power, each of us have knowledge, that just because somebody is above you does not mean that they have that knowledge. So by bringing that to them, bringing something that's to their attention, we made things better. And I will say that, as I ask you to talk about a little bit about the state of Jersey motherhood, when we think about policies and how does that impact the practice of motherhood and what motherhood looks like. I'll give you an example. My eldest son was born in Canada. example, and I was just wondering if you could lead off on that.
Well, thank you for that softball, because that is an issue that's near and dear to my heart. When we talk about access to health care and accessibility, that's one of those issues. For women, we found that we had to make adjustments to the Family Leave Act, because not only is it for maternity, and as I mentioned when I first started speaking here, my daughter's 18, went off to college, my son's 17, soon to go to college. And in November, we had to take in my mother-in-law. So life changed. My husband was running back and forth to her house. She lived down the street, wasn't doing well, health challenges, and he was stressed out physically, high blood pressure, all of those things that would kill us early if we don't get our arms around it. We're nurturers as African American women. I watched this. He didn't know how to ask for help. She also had pride at 74 and was not coming into her daughter-in-law's house, and we needed to make some adjustments. So not only should family leave include maternity, it also should include the care of parents, the care of siblings, because I know a lot of people who are taking care of their siblings with disabilities and trying to find the right services for them once they age out of programs. And then the bonding time for a mom was another piece of the puzzle that we weren't given an account to. And as a manager, I will tell you, I work for a hospital, I mentioned. The parking lot is where you probably park for this session, and then you probably work on the 4th floor of the building. And you're 6 to 7 months pregnant trying to make your way to your office so you can save your time and bank your time so you can use it on the back end. Consideration for parking, something as simple as that, is an afterthought. I serve on the vice chair of labor. We passed a bill for employers to set up nursing rooms. To set up nursing rooms so that a mom would have to sit on the floor in the bathroom or find a space that was not clean to pump so that they can provide their child with their milk. And the men on the panel, some of them were scratching their hair. Why do we need that? It's onerous for the employer. And Jesus, sometimes you just have to pray to yourself before you speak. But you need to say what you need to say respectfully. And I pride myself on that because it's just not a thought. It's not that they don't care. They just don't see the very hoops we must jump through as women, as caretakers of the world, not just our own households, that we're protecting through policy. You mentioned lead in the water. Flint, Michigan gave us a voice. New Jersey has some of the highest lead levels in the country, but we were silent on it since the 90s. We appropriated $10 million every year for lead education and remediation, but under Governor Chris Christie, it went into the general fund and not for education and remediation. So you're talking about $70 million over a span of time that did not go into education and improvements, which can have devastating health effects on our children, on our seniors, even on us, because our infrastructure is old in New Jersey. We pride ourselves on that, but we must build on that and put money towards that. I pride myself on making sure we have logical legislation that impacts the 9 million people of the state of New Jersey. You all are that voice. And if education doesn't unite us, while I'm in healthcare, I'm from Patterson, the 3rd largest city, an urban district, an avid district that continues to have its funding cut, continues to have its classroom sizes elevated above 30 students per classroom, continues to have social challenges, continues to not have healthy food options, which was another issue that impacted Camden and some of the other areas. But I need you all, when you come to Trenton, we get excited. Because it's not only me, as Shavonda Sumter, stating the issues that you face daily in your respective communities, but it's you all validating that it is a problem as voters, as citizens, as taxpayers, that we all need to wrap our arms around and put our heads together to appropriate funds to combat that challenge. So let's continue to work together. When you leave here, come up with what your strategy will be for our next legislative session, so that way we can move the needle some more. Thank you.
So, I love that. So you're giving us a charge. So we got something to do when we leave here. And so for those of you who were here yesterday, which is I think virtually all of us, you remember that Ms. McFadden talked about the ways that she was helping herself to cope with the tragedy that she has experienced, the unspeakable tragedy. And she mentioned therapy. She mentioned accessing a therapist on a regular basis. She also mentioned a spiritual practice and how her faith community and her belief in God was really helping her. And so I'm going to go to you, Rabia, Miss Mommy Crying, and I'm going to ask you about self-care. And as a mom, how important is it for us to take care of ourselves? And talk to me about any of the things that you do in order to practice self-care.
Yeah, absolutely. When I think about the mommy grind and the mommies in our group, self-care is a reoccurring topic in the mommy grind. But what's interesting about self-care, the topic of self-care, is the one topic I have to force the moms to talk about. In our group, we talk about everything. We talk about potty training, food prep, job transition. But when we talk about self-care, I can feel the eyes rolling when I'm on my phone and on my computer, because I'm like, mommies, are you taking care of your mind, body, and soul? Are you taking care of your mind, body, and soul? And they're like, here she go again, talking about self-care. And I found that to be very interesting. So back in May, I posted a question in the group, wanted to get some insight about self-care. So I said, well, maybe I have to bribe them with some money or something to make sure that there's a conscious effort on how well we take care of ourselves. So I said, hey moms, I have a question. If I gave you $100, right, and I said, here, go treat yourself to something nice, what would you do with that $100? And believe it or not, more than 90% of the moms that commented, probably had over 100, 200 comments, they said that they would pay a bill and buy something for their child. So I had to go back to the question. I said, what? No, oh, you misunderstood. No, I said, what would you do with that $100 for yourself? And they came from my throat, like, what do you mean for myself? There's so many things in our home that needs to be taken care of. My son needs shoes. My daughter has to go to college. How dare I even put myself first? So that was very interesting to me. Because then I went back and I said, okay, there's this connotation between self-care and things, right? So we think about self-care, we think about being able to get a mani-pedi every week, and we think about going to the salon, buying shoes, and, you know, taking that girl's trip. And these are all forms of self-care, but when you think about it in the simplest form, I define self-care as stillness. Stillness meaning stopping, taking a few moments out of your day, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, time you have, and to really reflect on your day. And in those moments, I believe, is when you hear God's voice. Because I know all of us have passions that, and dreams and things that we want to give birth to, but we don't have time. We don't have time because we don't stop and be still to really think about some of the things that we want for ourselves. When I think about self-care for myself, I think about my journey. I want to share a little story with you. So back in 2014, at that time I was working in global outsourcing. That's another panel. I don't even know how I ended up in global outsourcing. Was sitting across from a client. He was like a VP of acquisition. And we're having our meeting, and if you know anything about me, I have hard stops with my meeting because, I plan my time accordingly. And he's going on and on, he's talking about his dog. And in that meeting, I got a toothache. I got a terrible toothache, and the pain was so bad that I thought I was going to pass out on the floor from a toothache. So somehow I wrapped that meeting up, went down to the lobby, Googled the nearest dentist, and I said, please, and I'm in tears, I said, please, can you please see me? My tooth is hurting really bad. They said, come on over. Went to the dentist, they did some x-rays, and they said, you know, you have that wisdom tooth that it needs to come out. I said, all right, doctor, I don't have time. Give me some meds. I'm off to the next meeting. Months pass. Still the same toothache. All I do is medicated, Ambisol, whatever I have, a little whiskey on there, whatever's in the home to kind of soothe that pain. Like I said, months pass. My daughter, she's probably 6 months at the time. I wake up in the middle of the night. My throat was swollen shut and my jaw was locked. I couldn't open my mouth and I couldn't even swallow my own saliva. So in that moment, I said, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Rushed to the emergency room. I thought I had amazing insurance. The oral surgeon that was on that day would not see me because he did not accept my insurance. So they said to me, you need to go find your own surgeon or your own dentist. Let them see you come back to us. They sent me home. Throughout the night, I'm in excruciating pain. We get up the next morning, my husband and I go onto the insurance website, find the oral surgeon, rush to his office. He's, does x-rays in this, fancy room. I sit in a room and the x-ray machine twirls around me. And within minutes, I see him rushing out. He runs to my husband. He said, get her to the hospital right now. And I'm like, we rushed. My husband's attorney, so I hear him like cussing everybody out on the phone, like, you sent my wife home and she was in pain. When I got to the hospital, I was greeted by internal medicine, infectious disease, ear, throat, nose doctor, and the oral surgeon that would not see me. They rushed me to, I got hooked up to machines, etc. So fast forward, I ended up in the hospital from a toothache for 2 weeks because the infection from the wisdom tooth was so bad that I was on heavy doses of antibiotics to clear the infection out of my body from a toothache that I put off. Now, think about, remember we're talking about self-care. Fast forward, 2 weeks passed, I was cleared for the surgery. The surgery was only supposed to take an hour. I speak to my husband after the fact. He said, after hour 2, when no one came to tell him how I was doing, he was thinking about how he was going to raise our daughter by himself, because he thought that I was not coming back. So that was the pivotal moment for me that I need to start taking better care of myself, my mind, my body, and my soul. All right? And if you think that self-care is a selfish act, not taking care of yourself is a selfish act. We have babies that depend on us, have families that depend on us. If we're not physically here, what's the point? So I challenge you all and I charge you all to think about your lives and take moments of stillness to really take care of your mind and think about all the things that you want to achieve in your life. Take care of your bodies and making sure that everything that you're putting out into the world, that you're getting it back. Right? Yes.
So the next person is for Tiffany here to my right, who, as mentioned, is the regional coordinator for Mocha Moms. And Mocha Moms is an organization that focuses on, sort of Black and brown moms, and I'm sure you can talk about that a little bit more. And so we have a lot of commonalities as mothers of any race, any nationality, but your organization is really focused on Mocha Moms, and that's where you're centered. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the unique challenges or what it was that really inspired an organization that is really centered around the experiences of mothers of color?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, I want to say that Mocha Moms Incorporated, just to give a little backstory and historical information, is we were started and founded in 1997. And it was a small group of women in Maryland, and they were the only women in that area And they said, you know what, we need to support each other. Let's start our own organization, our own group. They started this newsletter. This newsletter turned into other things and chapters and events, and we just shot up to be this nationwide organization. And now we have so many chapters in every state, and it is just amazing to see that history of women coming together just for the sake of being a mom, being together, being wives and sisters and aunts, but carrying the burden of having children, which is a blessing, but also we have our struggles and our challenges. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is, as far as our state of motherhood, we are in the yellow. And when I say we're in the yellow, I want to talk from both mom's perspective and also an educator's perspective. So I'm sure you guys have your children in school, and in the classrooms they have this behavioral chart, right? And you have, okay, you're on the green, which means you're good to go, you're great. You're on the yellow, which means you need to slow down. I'm watching you, okay? You're headed in the wrong direction. And then you have the red. Okay, red means no. No bueno, you're doing bad, I gotta call your parents, this is not good. Right now, and I think we all can agree with this, we are in the yellow. We need to stop and proceed with caution with how we are raising our children. Right now, it's a matter of, we are doing excellent, we are doing the best that we can as mothers, but we need to slow down for a second, pay attention to how we are taking care of ourselves, in addition to how Robbie was saying is self-care, and really, really emphasize on raising our children the way that we were taught how to be adults, right? Old school, like we said, a village raises the child. Okay, so when I say that we're in the yellow, it means we need to stop and think about, okay, how are we disciplining our children? How are we teaching them how to speak and behave and to be kind and to be loving and be respectful and to do their best in school and in sports and athletics and after-school activities? What are we doing to help encourage them? And I attended a workshop yesterday, it just popped in my mind about how to speak to our children, having difficult conversations with our children. This is what Local Moms is all about, by the way, but that's a little tidbit, okay? Teaching each other how to have difficult conversations with our children. And one of the things was, how are you speaking to your children? Rhonda Wise, she was the leader of yesterday's workshop, and she was talking about, when you yell at your children and you talk like this and say, well, can't you do this and can't you do that, do you think they hear you? No, they don't hear you, but they hear the loving side of how you speak to them and how you respond and how you encourage them. And with Mocha Moms, separate from the educator's perspective, is back then, the organization was founded on moms who were able to stay at home and take care of their children, and that was their top priority back then. Because guess why? That was uncommon for us. What? You're black and you stay at home? Really? Wow. Oh, your husband must be rich. Oh, it's the perception. And that's not always the case. Mocha Moms was about moms who made the choice and the sacrifice to say, it doesn't matter how much money my husband or my family makes, or we could be middle class or barely making it, but I'm choosing to give all my energy because that's my job, is to be home and raise my children. Yes! That's a responsibility. That's our number, because we are suffering. Because our children, there is that gap, that minority gap that our children suffer from. And for you to be home and be able to take care of your children 100% is such a blessing. And of course, things evolve.
But I facilitate it, and I bring people to the table, and I do it in a way that's done out of love, because I think that all things should be done in love. And that's, to me, the most important thing, doing it all in love. And when you do it all in love, you don't judge, because you do not know where I've been. So you cannot judge me. But you can help me. You can help me. And that's what I do for people, and that's what when I work with people, or parents, anyone in the community, that's what I encourage others to do the same. And that's what I model in what I do. Don't judge, just help. Just help, because someone needs help. I know I do. I know I do. So whenever you're out there, whenever you see somebody, whether it's the stay-at-home mom, I know stay-at-home moms get a lot of criticism. I did it for 2 years. I was done. I couldn't do it. The work is too hard. The work is way too hard. I couldn't do it.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't do it. So I have total respect for stay-at-home moms. People talk about how hard it is to do what I do. No. Stay-at-home moms. That's hard work. That's hard work. So God bless you. God bless you for doing it. And for Assemblywoman, everything that you stand for, God bless you also, because that is what we need. We are behind as a nation. And it takes great champions like yourself to turn it around. To turn it around. And I'll do my part. You better. I will do it. I will. You come into Camden County, you'll see it's happening. You'll see it's happening. And the crime and having women in leadership positions in education, women of color, people do not understand how important that is. Because, again, it's that cultural difference. It's that cultural difference that exists there. And people don't get it. People do not get it. Why is language important? Why is it important for you to understand space and space relationships and how I speak in this environment versus that environment? So that's all important. Bringing it all together, that's all important. So I want to thank all of you guys, ladies. You're amazing. You're amazing. Thank you for sharing.
And I want to make sure, and I do want to thank our panelists, but of course, we're not quite over yet, because I want to give us an opportunity if we have anyone in the audience that has questions. And I do want to say that I love that sort of final statement that you talked about with the helping and the not judging, because that's so important. And I know for myself, my middle son has incredible challenges, and I did everything right and all of that, but you don't want to say, oh my goodness, my son got in trouble or this or that. But I refer to parenting like I do to teaching. If you think it's easy, you're probably not doing it right. And so that's just something to be mindful of. I will say our panel got started a little bit late. We really are over time in this moment. I don't know if we start to pay overtime fees or something like that. But I would like to give folks an opportunity, if anyone has a question that you'd like to pose to anyone on the panel. Okay, so we have time for 2 questions. I've been told. Yours is first, and I saw, and then
this question was, I was trying to befriend you guys on Facebook, and I was trying to look for your site, and like a lot of them coming up, so how can I distinguish your site? I'm Open Moms and Mommy Crime. How do I distinguish your site?
Okay, so Open Moms' website is www.openmoms.org. That's our national website. If you're looking for a local chapter, you can click under the links and say find a chapter. And you can click New Jersey, and we have 4 chapters currently going in New Jersey. And we're always looking to start a more, which I spoke to a couple ladies in Camden and Philadelphia. We just started a chapter there. So that's our website. And if you need my card again, I'll come see you and give you my card.
And you can find the Mommy Grind. Mommy Grind is a private Facebook group. It's through invitation, and you have to join. Our administrators and myself, we approve all our members in advance. So it's the Mommy Grind. It's our Facebook group. It's the pink logo against the pink brick. You can't miss it. 8,200 members in the group. So it's the Mommy Grind Facebook group. And then our website is themommygrind.com. But most of our interactions and our conversations happen in the private space of the Facebook group.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a question about the mentor relationships. I've reached out to several people who I feel I would benefit in a mentor-mentee relationship. However, when it comes to speaking directly to how I can give back to a mentor, I'm not really sure how to navigate that conversation as a mentee.
Great. Yeah, so my first thought, and obviously the panel should weigh in as well. So my first thought is when you're doing the introductory to the mentor, one of the things that when young people come up to me and say that they want me to be their mentor, my first question is like, what's your 1-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan, right? And if the answer is I don't know, then I typically ask them to go back and do a little bit more homework and soul searching because I'm very busy, right? So there's a difference between like the mentor and I'm helping you get access and I'm giving you feedback versus like I'm your life coach and I'm trying to get your life together, right? So I do think that, one of the things you want to be thinking about is what do you present to the table in terms of your ambitions, right? What are the characteristics and qualities that you feel you have? What types of venues and avenues and aspirations do you have? And what is your vision for yourself? Because again, at least the way that I see it, the mentor is supposed to help you grant access and provide feedback for you to help you navigate that space. But it's not always necessarily to help you figure out what you want to do in life. And I do think that sometimes when I've heard people say, well, I've tried to get a mentor, but that person didn't get back to me. It's like you might have presented, yourself in a way that didn't seem very clear. We're talking about mentors that really can help you. Those are probably people that are working 60, 80-hour work weeks, right? They want to pay it forward, but they want to know that their time is being valued and that the person that they're working with has a clear vision for themselves, and then me as the mentor is helping you get there.
So a couple of things, and I mentor a ton of people, and I'm also mentored. Listening is invaluable, and people don't do it enough. Also, the invention of email is great because you can have check-in points with your mentor to say, hey, this is what I'm doing, just to let them know. And it's no takeaway from time, so while they're sitting in a long meeting, they can take a look at it and see what you're doing. But two, you also need to return a favor. Just because they're a mentor, and especially me having a teenage daughter and son, my mentees taught me how to talk to my children. What's the latest song? So when they get in the car and I'm singing it, and they're like, "How taught you that, Mom?" So then I'm a little cool for the day, and we can connect in that way because it's a different space for each generation and time. So as you seek out your mentors, make sure you listen, find a way to connect with them where you can be of value to them as well.
And one thing I just want to add, also find, we talk about mentorship in a professional realm, but also find a mommy mentor. We all have different stories, and it's great to be able to connect with a mom that has a similar circumstance, to yours. A lot of times, moms suffer in silence because we're afraid of judgment, and something that I call mommy shaming. Stay-at-home moms against the working moms, the breastfeeding moms against the formula moms. We all have a very unique situation and unique story. So I ask that you align yourself with a mommy mentor that can guide you through the path from their perspective.
Thank you. So, I have, if you all can keep a secret, I'm going to have one more question. Chanel did give me order. She told me 2 questions. That's an out-of-third question, only because the first question was more about logistics than not. And I do want to also state that one of our family members from the Parent Summit here, Ms. Oder, Rafia, just said she wanted to remind all of us to make sure that we share the information with others who may be a part of our group that may not have had an opportunity to be at this session, and I thought that was great advice. So you will be the final question here.
I was like, well, since that first question was a little short, can I ask the question? So thanks everyone. I wanted to just take a minute and just hard for me, so I'm always speaking from my heart. So I'm sitting here trying to think of a way to just say everything that I was going to say. So each of you represent who I am today, right? I see my reflection in each of you, and being someone who has worn many hats, including being a mom, which is the most important, right? I recently transitioned over from working as a human resources manager. My purpose for transitioning away from that corporate arena was because I felt like if I'm working with a whole bunch of adults, and it's very challenging, right? Like, and I should say this, before I went into the business world, my background was early childhood development and education.
Now, you promised me you were going to ask a question, so make sure you ask a question.
Okay, I come back to working as a human resources manager. I'm like, well, the kids need me. You guys don't, right? So I left away from the human resources world. Now I'm actually working as a substitute teacher because I wanted to get a feel for the education world because I really didn't know. And I'm finding out a lot. It's very interesting, but more importantly, like I've been developing relationships with the children and I love it. It's been feeding my soul. So come back to my question. Right now I'm in the process, like I've seen a lot of gaps with parents in schools and students, and it's always like this thing where you have an event like this, or some people might have an event with children by themselves. Right now I'm about to launch an event where I bring everyone together with their children. Okay. So for me doing this, I want to ask for help. I know that we all talk about mentorship, we all talk about just being able to support each other. I want to ask each of you and everyone in the room, like, just to help me, because I'm at this pivotal moment where I know what I need to do. I have to pull it off because it's not necessarily for the parents, and it's not necessarily for the children, and it's not necessarily for the teachers in the schools, but it's for everybody. So I just want to ask for help.
Could I ask that question?
By all means.
Now, this was kind of near and dear to me. So, because like you, I wear the teacher hat, I wear the administrator hat, I wear the parent hat, and the community advocate hat. And that's why I always talk about how important it is not to judge. Because if you do not judge, then you will understand people a little bit better. And when you create that group that's going to assist you, and you need partners to make that happen, when you create that group, by not being judgmental, you will hear more. Because if you come to a conversation with judgment, you're not going to hear everything. You're going to kind of transpose your opinions and your beliefs onto somebody else. You have to be non-judgmental. And one of the things that when you're bringing the parents together in that kind of environment, you have to understand the parents. You have to see their challenges. You have to see where things are, and where they feel comfortable. Because they're not going to open up to you unless they are comfortable, unless they know that you're going to really listen to them and you're going to be supportive of them. And then you have, and by knowing your parents, then you can attract them to the table. So right now, one of the things I'm working with my high schools is I want to take the family success Promise Neighborhood model into the school, so that we, as a school, we have a lot of services, but they're not working cohesively as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to work closely, and this is something that's starting. I haven't even really started it yet. I'm just bringing the principal on board and bringing some of the staff people together. I'm going to sit them down, and I'm not going to tell them what to do. And I've already told them that, look, this is an idea, and we need to come together as a team and see that. Now I have a vision, yes, but we need to develop this vision together. This needs to be something that's shared. And so bringing them to the table gives me more information, gives me more insight. So what is it that why do parents come to school? What is it that brings them? What keeps them away? Where are those walls? And when you sit down as a team and look at all of these things, you can start to identify the strengths. You can start to identify the challenges, and you can identify opportunities, what I call opportunities that you can work towards. And from there, once you get to that point, then you can start to set up your goals. What is your goal? What is your immediate goal? What is it that you want to get done? And create that timeline for work. But you have to do it as a team, because it has to be a shared vision. And you have to do it from a point of non-judgment. Because if you're going to judge your parents, you're going to say, oh, she's just a stay-at-home mom, she can come whenever. No, you don't know what she's doing. You don't know what her life is and what is going to bring her to the table. Like, oh, you should raise, we're teachers, we know everything. You don't.
That's a big problem that we have.
You have to understand that mentality. So those are a lot of the details. And I don't know your environment. Your environment will be different from the one I'm working with right now. So that's why I suggest that you identify those people who you can work with and who have this passion like you do to bring it all together and start to look at it that way. And if you want some more information, I'd be more than happy to